Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge. So let's start by sitting upright. The head is suspended from above. The soft tissues in the body are relaxed, melting towards the ground. Take a few deep, long, comfortable breaths. Let your breath slowly sink down into the belly. Gently smiling a bit with your lips, your eyes. Receive yourself with kindness, with compassion. Allow whatever there is in your mind and your body, in your experience in this moment, to simply just be the way it is. There's nothing to change, nothing to control. Just let things be. The settling down of the body and mind happen naturally with time if you just let it. Let your consciousness, your mind slowly spread out into the entire body, feeling, experiencing the whole body. Feeling the body not via imagining it, like imagining your arms and your legs, or labeling it, compartmentalizing it, but simply as a kind of mist of aliveness or a cloud of energy, just simple feeling this. Basically, you just feel what's already there without adding any stories or imaginations on top. So while you breathe in, you really connect with this feeling. And while you breathe out, release, let it become soft. Let go of holding all this unnecessary tension. Allow the tension to evaporate, to melt, bit by bit, breath by breath. Breathing in, feeling, breathing out, softening. As if your skeleton was just being suspended there by the crown, hanging from the ceiling. And each time you breathe out, all the soft parts of your body just melt or evaporate more and more. Each time you let go, each time you release a little bit, you find a bit of comfort, a bit of openness and space. And notice that feels nice. That feels a little bit better than when you're holding tension. So feel free to enjoy the happiness born of release. And as you keep your awareness expanded throughout the entire body, you'll gradually notice that there are many layers to the tension that we're habitually holding in the body. But there's also centers of tension, little points. You may also find that if you're releasing one part, and then you go to the next, that the part that you've just released becomes a little bit tense again. All that is normal and is okay. It's to be expected. So don't worry about it. Instead, simply release whatever tension presents itself during this breath. This breath is all that matters. Feeling the body as you breathe in and releasing as you breathe out. Think of that as one successful session of meditation. And you're not only just releasing tension in the body, but each time when you connect with your body, you feel the body and you release as you breathe out. You're also releasing part of the mental tension, the tension that arises through thinking about the future, thinking about the past. So you're coming more and more into the present moment, bringing the mind and the body together. And I really recommend you to go for these little moments of joy, little moments of pleasure when you let go of tension. Notice them, pay attention to them, appreciate them. Because that's where it's at. Every one of those moments is a little step in the right direction. You know, also watch out for little points like the eyes, releasing the eyes, the forehead, the belly, the heart. So basically what I'm doing is I'm scanning the body automatically by having my consciousness all throughout the body. I notice when I find a bit of discomfort or tension, I release, I find some space, some openness, and I enjoy that. It's a little bit better than before. And I take that a little bit deeper. Just following that comfort that arises when I let go. Then I may become aware of another part of the body that's a bit tight. I breathe into that part. I soften as I breathe out, finding a bit of comfort, a bit of joy. Taking it a little bit deeper with a couple of breaths. Just following the joy of release. Some of the tension in the body, it's very sneaky. It's been there for such a long time, it's so habituated that you don't even notice it as tension. It's always great when you actually start to see that there is tension when previously you have never seen it as such. And you bring a bit of release into those areas, enjoying, resting in it. Just having a good time. You can do this step by step, going through the body like a typical body scan, from top to bottom or from bottom to the top. Or you can do it intuitively, just the way we're doing it right now. Let your attention be guided. may also find that there's all kinds of different experiences of tension, of stress. Sometimes it can manifest as just muscular tension. Sometimes it has a bit of a flavor to it, kind of like an emotional tension, if you will. Sometimes it's just restlessness. Or mental tightness, such as when you're trying really hard or focusing really hard. The principle of release is the same for all these forms of tension. Finding softness as you breathe out. Finding some space. Letting go of holding on. Also, another form of sneaky tension is that when you discover a tight spot in your body, the way you relate to it, you may have a dislike for it, you may be resisting it, trying to get rid of it. So you're putting a bit of tension on top of the tension that's already there by how you're dealing with it, how you relate to it. If you can detect that, if you can notice that within yourself and release it, that's fantastic. Will be an immediately liberating sensation. In your own time, you can slowly come back and open your eyes and gently stretch a little bit if you like, maintaining the mind-body connection. So, good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you. So what we just did was cultivating an ability, a skill, and it's the skill of release, of letting go. And so that's a way of seeing this practice. You can see it as something to cultivate, something to build, something to get better at. You're not immediately starting out being perfectly released, perfectly open, totally relaxed about the way things are. Most of us start out being really, really tense about the way things are. Kind of almost like a consistent conflict with reality, conflict with truth. We are in conflict with natural things such as illness, death, loss. We're in conflict with the fluctuations of life, the way things change. We don't like it sometimes. And when things arise that we like, we immediately want to grab and hold them, try to prolong them, try to amplify them, get more out of the experience. So we're constantly pushing and pulling on reality, trying to make it so that we don't have to suffer it, that we can be at ease with it. Now, the recipe of being at ease with reality is not through manipulating it to a point where you do not have to encounter any discomfort. That should be fairly obvious, I think, to most people. However, the way we act, most of us, naturally and instinctively, is quite the opposite. It's as if we can bend reality into the shape we think it should be, so that I don't have to endure it, I don't have to suffer it. So we come up with all kinds of inventions, with all kinds of techniques and tricks and this and that throughout human history, in order to bend things and people into shape. What else would a war be other than we are bending this group of people so they conform with our will and they conform with our ideal image of reality. That's the way things should be. The millions of deaths that you can go back in history that have been caused through ideologies such as communism and so forth. Massive amounts of death and destruction, and torture and pain and suffering. Why? Because we're trying to bend people into a certain ideology, or telling this is the way you should be. And it goes down into smaller things as well, just within our own families. We're trying to manipulate one another so that we are safe from being hurt by the other person, or that we get more out of the situation. So we can be quite sneaky about this. Just constant effort to live out this conflict with reality, rather than just learning to be at peace with it. And as you may guess, this conflict with reality begins on the inside of ourselves, the way we relate to ourselves. How do you relate to pain? How do you relate to failure? How do you relate to your body, for example? If you're looking into the mirror, how do you relate to that? If you're looking at your own mind and your brain and your nerves, your emotions, how do you relate to that? Are there emotions that you think you shouldn't have, for example? I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't be grumpy. I shouldn't be depressed. It's bizarre, that way of relating to an experience that we have by just assuming that this doesn't belong, it's kind of out of place, and my job is to get rid of it. It's not only very inefficient, it adds so much tension on top of the problem that we're already experiencing. And it's totally unnecessary to stress out about stress, to be angry at anger, to be fearful of fear, to be sad about sadness. Isn't one layer enough? We all have to already deal with one layer throughout life. The famous simile that the Buddha gave of the 2 arrows, being hit by 2 arrows. We are all hit by one arrow already. It's the arrow of birth, old age, illness, death. It's unavoidable suffering that we all have to go through, regardless of your status or your income or whatever. It doesn't matter. You all have to experience illness, old age, death, sorrow. Grief, the loss of loved ones, encountering what we hate, being separated from what we love. These things, we already have to deal with it. Isn't that enough? No, for most of us, it's not enough. We need a bit more drama on top. Putting a bit more spice into the soup. Then we might get ill, and on top of the illness, then we might be feeling guilty. Maybe you're a food or health influencer, let's say, and you're getting really severely ill, maybe down with cancer or something like this. And your whole life long, you've been an advocate against cancer, and you've sold thousands of people your anti-cancer products, and there you are with cancer. Now, how do you feel about that? It's not uncommon, this kind of stuff, right? You may be telling people your whole life long, be patient, don't retaliate, be kind. But in secrecy, like when you're not on video, not on camera, not in a public space by yourself and maybe with your family members, you're acting totally different. And then when the illness comes, or when you're suddenly confronted with the truth of life, that you've so successfully repressed and resisted and worked against, successfully meaning financially successfully, with your product, the health food or something like that, then finally you have to confront the truth that you're not in charge. You can't even govern yourself, your own body. You can't even tell your own mind that it should be happy and nice and not full of thoughts and so on. There's a zero control over such things. And then, of course, the response to that, truth again, oh, I'm powerless, is very often denial, perhaps further suppression. Maybe the person that has sold the anti-cancer product their entire life, now being faced with cancer, maybe they would immediately go into denial and then not, so that they don't have to face the apparent problem and deal with it, but instead they're just going around it. They're avoiding the problem by maybe coming up with another product or some explanation, some justification why they happen to have cancer. And it definitely has nothing to do with their product, which is still excellent. Something like that. People come up with all kinds of ways of justifying their approach to reality, their suffering, their ways of creating drama for themselves and others. And all this tension, that's the unnecessary second arrow. Just being in conflict with the way things are. Yeah, we do get old, we get ill, we die, we suffer. We have to face all kinds of problems. The body doesn't do what we want it to do. People don't do what we want them to do. Perhaps it'd be a good moment to just stop stressing about it when we realize that that's not mine to control. trying to manipulate what other people think of you, for example. It's another classic. How do we do that? Well, put filters on your pictures before you post them. That's an attempt at manipulating what other people think of you because you yourself don't really like yourself all that much. So that the outcome of not liking myself very much is then to try to make other people like me. It's pure projection. To compensate for that. I don't like myself, so I try to get other people to like me by showing them how I think I should ideally look like. And then I identify with that picture. So if I get a like, I feel happy. If I get a thumbs down, I feel sad. Even though it's not even a real picture of me. So we're really good at this, avoiding the truth, looking the other way, so we can keep doing what we're familiar with. I think one of the main activities of our psyche, of our mind, is to just simply bring us back to what we're familiar with over and over again. The way you feel about yourself, your belief systems, the way you've been raised, your old traumas, your old problems, to stay within that, because at least it provides you some degree of safety, because the known is safe. At least you know it. It's terrifying to get out of that, out of the zone of the known into the unknown. That's terrifying. Anything could happen. You may be judged. You may get ill. You may have an accident. There's some people in this world that would defy all the news and all the common narrative that they encounter in their society and just hop on a bicycle and cycle around the world alone by themselves. I've heard of a woman that made this huge trip on a bicycle, I think, through Afghanistan, like war zones, alone. And she had a fantastic experience doing that. But that's terrifying, right? Like even going down south in Thailand, where you've heard of all the rumors about bombs and trouble and unrest and so on, and then just going for a holiday there, exploring that region, even that comes with slight unease because it's unknown. You don't know what that's like going there. And of course, you only think of the pictures and the things that you've heard previously. So that's the scenarios that will go through your mind going down there. And then you find it's like really friendly people and it's super nice. It's totally laid back and relaxed. And it's not that the other thing doesn't exist. It's just what goes on in my mind and the vision that I have of myself going down there has nothing to do with the actual reality of the experience. And how often do we hold ourselves back just because of a belief or an assumption? If I did this, it would be horrible. Well, how do we know? Maybe it would be the best thing ever. There's simply no way of knowing unless you do it. Then you know. And then you cannot generalize either. You can't just say, because that's what I've experienced, that's what everyone will experience. By far not. Your own experience, your private experience is completely different from other people's private experience of, the same situation. You put 5 people into the same room, they all have completely different experience. It's like 5 worlds. Different childhoods, different backgrounds, different families, different traumas. They're all there in the same room. They're not experiencing the same room, They all experience different things. The way they relate to one another, how you experience other people, also completely different. Pan, my wife, she may look at someone walking by and she thinks of them as being really kind and friendly and nice looking, and I look at the same person and I feel like, well, I think they look really aggressive. It's a totally different experience of reality. So we do have that tendency and habit and wiring to overlay over what already is the first arrow. We overlay a whole mass of conceptions and extra drama and extra seasoning. Yeah. So how to get out of that? You get out of that by cultivating release. And you start with the most simple layer, finding softness and comfort in your own body. Because the tension that you're holding habitually in your own body comes from your emotional makeup, your energetic makeup. And that in turn comes from your mental makeup, the beliefs you hold, the assumptions that you have, the experiences in the past, your memory. And that in turn is based on a feeling of self at the center, the experiencer of reality, me. So you gradually go from the most coarse level of your experience and learn to find release in that, and then you need to cultivate it. You need to do it a lot, because it won't be doing itself. Like what we've just done in this meditation session, you won't be doing it automatically for the rest of the day. What you will do automatically for the rest of the day is what you have been doing for the past 30, 40, 50, whatever years of your life. That's what you will be doing for the rest of the day. So you're kind of working against trying to maintain the status quo of your past. Your past dictates you got to be scared, you got to be tense, you got to be emotional, you got to be dramatic. And your whole nervous system is wired in that way to facilitate that, to make it automatic. It's background task. It just runs. You don't even have to think about it. You'll be just driving back on your motorbike or in your car and your shoulders are up by your ears and you're feeling, in your habitual state of anxiety and you don't even notice. It's just second nature. Feels perfectly normal. So it doesn't come automatic. That's why I say it's a cultivation. It's something that you need to practice a lot. Fortunately, it's simple. You basically just need to reteach your body a different habit, which is the habit of finding release. Finding a bit of softness, finding a bit of comfort. And that goes already against a lot of old habits that we are having. For example, the habit of fault finding, the fault finding mind, directing our attention at things that go wrong all the time, or things that are threatening, dangerous, difficult, annoying, frustrating, piques our attention. We habitually go there. Or there's some pain in my knee. We don't even notice that there's some comfort in my left thigh, for example. Or there is a nice sensation around my arms in the front. That's actually really pleasant. But all my attention just goes to that little point in my knee, complaining about it, resisting it, fighting it internally, trying to get rid of it. Because how are you supposed to get rid of it? With your mind. You can't. In fact, if you're resisting it, as the old saying goes, what you resist persists. So if you're pushing mentally against it, you're making it stronger. You're giving it more reality, more weight. Because that pain lives on friction. It lives on this conflict. The more you're resisting it and pushing it away, the more tense you become around it, the more it flares up. So it's a kind of a sure shot sign whether you're finding release or you're doing the opposite of release, which is holding, tensing up around it. If you're finding release, the pain gets less. If you're tensing and leaning against it, trying to get rid of it, it gets worse. Everything behaves like that in our body. Think of your mind as well, your thoughts, the realm of thinking and emotions. The more you are resisting it, the worse it gets. Classic example is your panic attack. The more you're trying not to have it, the worse it gets. Best way to get out of a panic attack is to bring your attention to something that you have control over. Because people who are in panic, they lose control. They're scared of losing control. So you bring them to the breath. You learn to slow down the breathing. And it's pretty tough when you're having a panic and you're all by yourself. It's really hard to regulate it because you're in the whirlpool. You're sucked down into the panic. So there's little you can do. But if you have someone with you that's skilled, they will always bring you to the breath. And they will do a breathing exercise where they slow down the breathing gradually. And they have to constantly bring you back, almost every second, because your mind is freaking out. It wants to go to the problem, making the problem stronger. It's like, yeah, but there's a problem. Yeah, but there's a problem. And here's the breath. And being with your breath is the end of the problem. But your mind is like, yeah, but I can't just be with the breath because over there I'm dying. Yeah, but over here you're living. Yeah, but over there I'm dying. You see, that's a conflict. So you bring your mind back to what's good, what's comfortable. And you need to learn to enjoy that. Again, that's something else that we need to cultivate. Cultivating joy, finding happiness, finding pleasure within your own being. Pleasure that's not coming from outside. It's not consumption pleasure. It's creative pleasure. You're making it. You become your own happiness factory. So you don't need to outsource that. You don't need to have other people like you so you can feel good. You feel good, period, whether people like you or not. That's more akin to true happiness. It's independent, it's free. I have it, doesn't matter how the weather is. Doesn't matter what people say. Doesn't matter if I'm ill or healthy even. Doesn't matter, I'm happy, period. That's the one thing that I can trust. There's profound happiness in my heart. And I can go there anytime I want. That's something you need to cultivate, that place. It isn't naturally there. So you're working against all this lifetime of programming and conditioning and automatisms. You can even think of your entire body as being your subconscious mind. Your body is your mind crystallized. It is your subconscious. It's your mind's automated habits. Something like that. Kind of like when you don't move a physical part that is pliable in the beginning and soft, and then you don't move it for a long time, or you're holding tension in for a long time, it becomes tough. It becomes very hard, like a bone even. It's crystallizing, binding together. It forms something tough, something hard, because that's apparently what you need. So your body simply serves your mental habits and tendencies and supports them. If you're angry a lot, the body will assume an angry posture most of the time, and your heartbeat will be accordingly, your blood vessels will be accordingly, your liver will work accordingly. Everything will work in accordance to support the energy of anger to be in your system more efficiently. Your body just follows. It doesn't matter what it is that you cultivate mentally, your body simply facilitates that. It becomes a better vessel for what you're putting into your mind. And that's why I say it's kind of like your hardened mind, your crystallized mind. And so your body will do what it is habituated to do. It's already a perfection of cultivation. Your body is already a master at holding tension. So we got to undo this. And there is no rush in undoing it either. You don't have to be frustrated if you can't do it in 10 days or 10 months or 10 years or whatever. It doesn't matter. If there's time, doesn't matter. What matters is that you have an access to a state that's a little bit better than the one before. Right now. A little bit. Just a tiny bit better. You go for that. You do that right now. You can feel your body as you breathe in, whatever part of your body. And you will notice automatically where you're holding unnecessary tension. Because your fault-finding mind goes there automatically. And as you breathe out, you just find a little bit of softness in it. Just ever so little. It doesn't have to be big at all. Just one step in the right direction, and now you just do it again, and again, and again, and again. Before you know it, you've made 100 steps in the right direction today. Maybe you're starting off with 1 step in the right direction per week. Then 2, then 7, 1 per day, and so on and so forth. So you're developing towards, you're developing in the direction of releasing. That's what we cultivate. Finding release. Just start out with that. It'll have a huge implication. It'll really change your life. Just that alone. The ability to make yourself comfortable. You don't have to bother other people anymore. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. So just you can get your little fix of, I'm still there. I'm still loved. But you're comfortable. So the dynamics change. It's not that we use other people to get attention anymore. It's that we have enough happiness, enough release within ourselves that we can share attention with others. It's reversed. You're not moving through life as a beggar. You're moving through life as a wealthy person. So you're in a position to give, to lift up, and so on. You're not moving through life as a dependent person. My happiness depends on A, B, and C. But you're living as a more free person. Release equals a degree of freedom. To the extent that you release, to that extent you're free. Unbound. Then if you're free, you're not disturbable. Things and events and circumstances cannot disturb you if you're free, if you're not attached, if you're not connected to those circumstances anymore, then you're free. Your happiness or your suffering doesn't depend on circumstances anymore. That's the definition of freedom. That's at least the freedom that really matters. I make my own happiness and I share it freely, rather than going through life and expecting everyone else to cater to me and make me happy. And manipulating others and the world around this goal. May I be happy. Now once I have happiness, then what's my goal then? Well, none. I'm content. But you will naturally share your happiness with others, just like we all naturally share with others who we are. So it's fairly simple. It's not an effort, I need to make others happy. It's just who you are. You enter a room and there's a bit more light in the room. There's a bit less drama in the room. There's a bit more ease in the room. Things get better. Just because you're a cultivation of release. So build that skill. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself and others. Relax, in other words, Just relax. And relax regardless of what's going on. Relax. So like, no, I need to be uptight and tense because so many clouds on the sky today. How can you be relaxed when there is a war? How can you be relaxed when there's inflation? How can you be relaxed when Trump, when Biden, when this, when that? No, you got it all wrong. You can be relaxed. Relax first. The world will still be a madhouse, even if you're relaxed. Trust me. It won't suddenly, collapse just because you've changed your state. Reality will remain reality. Whether you like it or not, whether you're at ease or not, people will do what they want. So might as well just relax. People will give you bad comments online. They will treat you nicely sometimes. They will treat you badly sometimes. Relax anyways. Just makes everything better. Okay, so that's all that comes to mind for this morning. I hope it helped a little bit in some way.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.